or I've been doing digital marketing and entrepreneurship for 20-something years now, 23, about to go on my 24th year. Can you guys go to the first slide? There you go. Well, actually, where's the clicker? All right. So today we're going to be talking about personal branding, how to get the maximum impact from your brand. As I mentioned, I'm Neil Patel. I've worked with a lot of different brands over the years. I've seen a lot of stuff, what works, what doesn't, and sadly, I've done a little bit too much of the stuff that you shouldn't be doing. I currently run an ad agency called NP Digital. We're a global ad agency in 28 countries now, and we see a lot of stats, trends, and data. So today, I'm gonna bring you a lot of that on personal branding. Some of it is what you wanna hear, and probably most of it is what you don't wanna hear. So the first thing to know is your brand is your only moat. In marketing and business, there really aren't moats anymore. You can build new companies, you can copy new companies. There's not much that you can do to really differentiate yourself from the competition other than your brand. A great example of this is Michael Jordan shoes. If we all partnered together, someone gave us $100 million, we can build more comfortable shoes than Michael Jordan Nike shoes. Guaranteed though, we won't even sell 1% of what Jordan sells in a year. Why is that? That's right. I was in Australia yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. So I was in Australia yesterday. And when I was in Australia, even though basketball's not big there, people are walking around wearing Michael Jordan shoes. It's the brand. It's extremely powerful. And when you think about branding, literally 1 out of 3 Google search queries is a brand. Most people don't realize that. When they're searching Google, people think they're typing in terms like real estate. What they're really doing is typing in terms that are like real estate, but a third of the time, they're just going directly to Zillow. That's an example of a brand. And they do this for both corporate brands and personal brands. So let's talk about how you can go from being invisible to influential. So I'm gonna end up breaking down my story and how I did it and pretty much how you can copy. So it all for me started off with a blog. Years and years ago, I would blog about marketing, tactics, strategies, things I could do to get my company name out there. And it started with a blog called ProNet Advertising, and I blogged for a long time. Then I started to go to industry conferences, right? Speaking at Albert's event. There's another one of my buddies here named Dan Fleshman who has events. Speak at his events, right? I had hair, that's right. And I used to dress up kind of like Albert. That was no joke. I think that was like a Dolce & Gabbana jacket. Shit's uncomfortable. Look at Albert's clothes right now, like they're tight. I'm wearing Lululemon or Viore joggers, comfortable. Same shit I wore on an airplane. No joke, really is. But the point I'm getting at is, I used to dress nice. Think that, oh, you got to dress nice to impress and people need to know who you are and look good so that way they're willing to spend money and pay you. It's a bunch of bullshit. All right. So then I started creating companies. One of my first companies was a company called Crazy Egg. It was an analytics company. It's actually where I made all my money. Everyone thinks I made it from my ad agency, NP Digital. I really made all my money from software. And I've been doing that software company now. I think it's getting close to like 17 years or 16 years or 18 years. It's a long time, all right? And then from there, I started creating in-depth content. I would create articles on the internet that were 20,000 words during my peak. 20,000 words, that's the length of a book. And I would pay people to design them. It was so effective, more and more people were typing my name into Google. So the way I built my personal brand was everything from blogging consistently, to giving back, to doing podcasts, to creating videos, to speaking at events, to continue expanding my organization. And then, not only did they for a long, long time, I also started creating tools and more tools. Like I bought this one for 120,000 bucks. I had to modify it a lot, but I bought it and I grew it from there. And when you think about all these little things, it adds up. Not one thing really grew my brand. Not a podcast, not a blog, not a press article, not television. It was just a lot of little stuff. And it helped me accumulate a decent amount of followers. I do not have anywhere near the amount of followers that are Kylie Jenner or some of the people in this room. But my followers are businesses. And the businesses spend money. And they have a lot of money. So then I took my personal brand, because a lot of people were hitting me up for marketing, and I converted it from, let's go from Neil Patel to NP Digital. And when I did that, all of a sudden I expanded into multiple countries and started growing more and more and more. And even though I made a good amount of money for my software company, Crazy Egg, and that's where I built my wealth, my ad agency grew pretty fast. It grew to over $100 million in revenue in 4+ years, 4 and change. We always say under 5. And now I think we're on year 8. And when I look at that, one of the main reasons is we produce more content, 13 times more content than any one of my closest competitors. We just push hard on the marketing. And when you look at the content universe, look how many blog posts I published since 2007. It's a lot. No joke, 10,000 plus blog posts. We refresh blog posts, podcasts, videos, shorts, monthly articles on other sites, translating my blog posts into multiple languages. It all adds up. When you think about it, the amount of content on the internet each and every single day that's being published is 4.6 billion. 4.6. That's a ton of content. Which means the bar has raised. You got to keep going and doing better than everyone else. Just think of it this way. This is the average number of times someone needs to see you before they buy. In B2C, if you're selling something that's over 10 grand, 23 times. B2B, 16. This is why you need a strong brand and people need to see your brand multiple times. In marketing, they call this the rule of 7. When someone sees or interacts with your brand 7 times, they're much more likely to convert into a customer. That's why I leverage all the channels and I do as much as possible to really generate a return. So now let's talk about going from 0 to hero in 6 steps. The first recommendation I have for you is to focus on one channel. Pick your channel. Is it going to be Gen Z, right? If that's the case, you can either go Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, or you could going after boomers, Facebook or YouTube. Pick your audience. And once you do that, you can then go and then double down and just create content for that platform. And when you create content for that one platform, you'll find your strength. You'll see what works well, what doesn't, what people like you for, and then do more of that. For example, I create a lot of in-depth content on YouTube. I do 1 long-form video a week, and starting in May, I'll start releasing 2 a week because it's been that effective for me. And video is really emerging as a key player. If you look at Google and how many more videos are published from 2023 to 2024, it's increased. And video can also help you gain visibility in AI. If you look at the number of times or percentage of times Google is now showing YouTube in the AI overviews, those are the AI responses at the top, it's increased more than 400%. It's kind of ridiculous to think about. You gotta leverage video content. And when you're leveraging video content, it doesn't need to be fancy. You can just bust out your phone and have it lo-fi. Lo-fi content tends to generate more views than highly produced videos because it's more authentic. That's really the key. And what you want to do is repurpose your content. By promoting it on multiple channels, you're going to get more traffic to your website. And these are the social networks that drive the most traffic to a website. LinkedIn, then X, then Facebook, and then it's downhill from there. And what you'll find is not all content is equal. Some produce a better ROI. Look at the ROI, right? The larger the circle, the more the ROI for different content types. There's a lot of content types out here like webinars. I think it's somewhere in here. Yeah, there you go, webinars. That are very effective, yet very few people leverage them because they're not that sexy. Live streams do well, and so do podcasts and email. It's not always the sexiest stuff. Social posts don't do as well. Then next, you want to document your journey and just be yourself. I don't try to be like Albert. It won't work for me. Albert doesn't try to be like me. It won't work for him. I'm not a smooth talker. I'm just a nerdy tech guy, and I just stick to being myself.
Yeah, I try to be like you.
It doesn't work for him, all right? It's just like me being like, guys, check out my six-pack and my guns. It's not going to happen, you know? I was making a joke to my trainer the other day, and I've had a trainer for a long time. I don't know how long Albert's been working out, but I can probably give him a run for his money of the amount of years I've been working out. But look at the results, right? As you can tell, it's more effective for him. So let's talk to my trainer there. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I'm going somewhere. He's like, where? I'm like, the gun show. And then he was just laughing at me. He's like, there's no guns. He's like, you're my worst client. He's like, all my other clients, I tell them, eat less. He's like, with you, I tell you to eat whatever you want and you still don't eat enough and gain weight. He's like, you got to eat a lot of protein. What'd you eat today? I'm like, I ate one meal today. He's like, you're terrible. He's like, how do you expect to be buff if you only eat one meal? I'm like, I don't care to be buff. You do you. I do me. So, but you got to be yourself and just be authentic. And if you are yourself, what you'll find is it resonates more with people. And this leads me to positioning. I don't try to position myself as a rich person. There's always someone out there who has more money than you. I'm not trying to position myself as the smartest person. There's always someone out there who's going to be smarter than you, who has an IQ even higher than Elon Musk. Just be yourself. I position myself as a technical marketer, and I just talk about marketing. And I like it, and it works for me. And when you are yourself and you're authentic and real, you'll stand out. I've known Dan Fleshman for so many years, all right? This guy knows everyone. Any celebrity, any athlete, any model, he knows. I've never once hung out with Dan and been like, Dan acts like that cool guy at a club who's super popular and knows everyone. I'm not trying to be rude. Dan's a little bit nerdy. But you know what? People love him because he's himself and he's nice and he's genuine. I don't ever hang out with Dan and be like, oh, I feel he puts me down or he's too cool to be around. He's just nice and humble and is always happy to make connections and introduce and help in whatever way he can and doesn't ask for anything in exchange. He's being himself. How did he accumulate a following? How did he accumulate so many cool friends? He just was himself. Never try to go out of his way to try to meet someone special. He just was just him. And that worked for him. And every time I see Dan on social media, he's always doing something new and cool. Or he's getting a cake smashed in his face from a guy named Steve Aoki, right? But either way, he's himself. And it works. And you just got to figure out who you are and just be that. And you'll stand out. And you'll get more of an audience for it. Albert always used to tell me, I'm the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or the Mexican Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And that's him. It works for him. Third thing you want to do is research topics people are interested in. There's a lot of tools out there like Answer the Public or Ubersuggest that can help you with this. You can use Quora. You can use the discussion forums on these social platforms. But you got to discuss what people are interested in or else you're not going to get engagement. And then ask people to convert. So for example, if I post on social media every once in a while, I tell people leave a content and I'll give them more information and I collect leads. That's more people who are converting for me. More ways to make money, all right? And when you're creating content, it doesn't always require volume. Here's the traffic that you get based on your word count when we did analysis of 751 websites. It's not always the longest articles that are getting the most traffic. People want quality over quantity. And even when it comes to social content, short form videos get the most engagement. But the real magic comes in long form. Long form is what people really resonate with. Long form is what people remember. We did a study with 100 people, surveyed them on what they remembered the next day. And we had them watch long form content for 15 minutes, short form for 45 minutes. Most people remember the long form, more than 10x more. People didn't really remember the short form. Short form is a great way to get people into your funnel. Long form is a better way to get them to eventually convert. And don't forget to put the social in social media. Respond to comments. Be there. Interact with others. Albert used to always tell me, don't you like comment back with your haters? I was like, no. He's like, it does. It just fuels the conversation, keeps it going. It's worked well for him. The fifth thing is go after podcasting. Look at the potential. Very few people podcast. Everyone blogs. Podcast is not that competitive. The big orange circle is blogging. There's one blog for every 7 people roughly. Podcasts, there's roughly one podcast for every 1,577 people. It's not that competitive. And here's the average length for podcasting based on views. The sweet spot is roughly between 26 minutes. Is it 26? No, 30 minutes to 40 minutes. That's roughly the ideal sweet spot when it comes to length and the most amount of views. And I highly recommend that if you're going to do a podcast, interview industry leaders. Like I interviewed Fabio. He's a managing director at Google and he runs all of Brazil, right? He's been there for a very, very long time. 6, put in 10 plus years. We did analysis. How many people in your industry remember a brand in the first year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? At the 10-year mark, 18.6% of the people within an industry is more likely to actually recognize your brand. We did this analysis of 502 companies, and they all ran surveys. The older the company, the more people recognize their brand. Think beyond 10 years. Stop thinking in 1-year cycles, 2-year, 5-year cycles. You got to create a business that lasts. And when you look at the NP Digital story, here's how many followers are on Neil Patel versus NP Digital. Yeah, NP Digital makes way more money than my personal brand. And here's the data for you. So these are the first 3 years in business of my latest company, okay? The first year we did $5 million in revenue and $5 million came from my personal brand. The second year we did $18 million in revenue and $10 million came from my personal brand. The third year, it's actually off year, we did $33 million in revenue and $10 million came from my personal brand. And now we do well into the 9 figures and less than 10%, a lot less than 10%, single digit percentile of my revenue comes from my personal brand. Personal brands have limitations. It's not where all the money's at. It's what people think is cool and sexy, like Cristiano Ronaldo, but Cristiano Ronaldo's no Coke. Kylie Jenner, she's no L'Oreal. And then even when you look at Michael Hyatt, he went from Michael Hyatt to Michael Hyatt and Company to then Full Focus. You got to get away from personal branding. I think personal brands are great, but you got to transition them into corporate brands. Jordan's amazing, but Nike's worth way more. Corporate brands win. And when you create content around a specific topic for your personal brand, around the same topic over and over again, people will start associating you with topics in that industry. And that'll help you become an industry leader. So what are the signs that you should expand your personal brand into a corporate brand? Well, are you getting demand faster than you can deliver? If so, you may want to consider creating a corporate brand. Is your personal time and energy restricting your revenue growth? If so, potentially create a corporate brand. For example, there's these brothers, the Altman brothers, and there's this guy named Matt and his brother Josh. They built a personal brand as realtors, all right? I don't work with Altman brother, although that's the name of their corporation, or their individual as well. I work with their company. And the reason I use them isn't because they're on a TV show. It's no joke. I was looking to buy a home in West Hollywood years ago. I went down the list on Google, and I kept calling every agent And Matt answered the phone. He answered the phone. From there, I bought a home from him in West Hollywood. I bought 2 condos and then 2 more homes. So I think I've done 5 transactions with him. And I don't know how many years, less than 10 years for sure. All because he answered the phone. No shame. Picks up the phone, ready to help whenever. Love him for that, right? But how was he able to get a lot done fast? Matt isn't one person. He has a team. Sure, there's him, there's his brother, but they have a big staff. When I was buying my last home, they also had to sell another home for me. And one of his colleagues got it done. I forget the guy's name, but really nice guy. The point I'm making here is it was a team effort. They continually generate more revenue because they have a team and they have a business and they have a corporate brand. It's not an individual. Corporate brands can be more beneficial in certain industries, whether it's B2B, products, if you're looking at highly regulated industries. I even think in real estate, right? There's that TV show with the guy who runs an agency. I don't know his name, but I know the company name of the agency. I watched 1 episode of it. I think it's called Buying Beverly Hills. He must have had a personal brand. I'm pretty sure he was a popular personal brand. I think he married a Real Housewife or a Hilton or something like that. I don't know the exact story. But people know him for his corporate brand. And when you get people, guide them in your funnel. Post on social media using tools like ManyChat, because when you use tools like ManyChat, you can end up having people leave a comment and collect a lead. Look, here's some of the metrics. 541 leads, 35 discovery calls, 4 pitch prep, 2 contracts sent, 1 deal closed, contract value $109,000. It's not bad. Bless you, bless you. So what are the types of content that generate the best leads? Well, it varies, but tools, calculators, quizzes, blogs tend to do the best. Newsletters aren't bad either. You got to leverage different content types. And tools, as I mentioned, is one of my favorites. Look at all the tools we have and the pop-ups and the exits and all the options we give people. We have so many options, I don't even know half of them. The key is you want quantity, but it needs to be high in quality. And one way we generate leads is tools. If you look at this, we did analysis of companies generating leads with or without tools. The companies without tools had 138 leads and they closed at 5%. The companies with tools had 606 leads. The tools generated lower quality leads, but their closing rate was 2.2%. But they still generated more leads and conversions, 6.9 conversions versus 13.3. The one with tools had 13.3. That's more revenue. And when you have these tools, you can also collect emails. We have a big list. We generate hundreds and thousands of emails each and every single month. And we give value to our list, continually emailing and messaging and giving people more and more. And this helps. So when you think about transitioning from personal to corporate, you just got to do it the right way. And the first thing you want to do is ensure that you have a consistent brand image. Follow the same guidelines, color schemes. When I record videos, my team says, oh, let's not use orange in the background anymore. I'm like, no, we're using orange as part of our logo, our color schemes, our brand. And 2, take yourself out of the day-to-day. Just get shit done. In real estate, I know you guys, a lot of you are in real estate. I believe the guy who showed me that house that I wanted to see was named Jacob, right? And he worked for the Allman Brothers. I believe that's his name. He's the one who got my home done and combined with the team there. It was a team effort. You want to take yourself out of the day-to-day. When I had questions, I didn't head up Matt. I head up Jacob and sometimes Matt, but they both helped. And sometimes Josh helped. But they were a team effort, and together they worked on getting my wife the home she wanted. You got to shift the focus from I to we. It's much more effective. And you want to bring in new faces. It's not just about you. It's about your team. And as you're going out there and building up your brand, you want to build trust. You want to get testimonials and reviews. This all helps. You don't buy from Amazon without seeing and checking out the reviews. Why would people buy from you without making sure you have a good reputation? And 4, you want to invest in marketing everywhere. Remember the rule of 7? If you don't invest in all the channels, you're not going to do as well. And visibility will build your brand recognition. The more people see you, the more they'll recognize you, the better you'll do. But when doing all of this, you want a good mix of traffic from paid and organic, because paid advertising converts, and you want a good portion of people to find you from your brand and non-brand. It's also critical to stay involved. Even though I have 1,000+ people, I'm involved in every single part of the process. From my personal side to corporate side, I'm doing whatever it takes to make sure that people are happy and delighted. I wish you guys the best of luck with building your personal brand. You guys can do well. You just got to follow the steps. It's not that hard, but be patient and put in the time. I can answer any questions you guys have as well. If you guys want the stats, you can download the charts too. Any questions? You can ask me on anything. Go for it.
Thank you for your time, Neil. You talk about personal brand, right? Albert's, he's huge on personal brand. So for someone like us, we started this last year with Albert. We were not on social media. You know what we do, senior care homes.
Which is a big industry. I looked at what is it called, A Place for Mom for Warburg Pincus when they were buying that company back in the day. It's a huge category.
So for us, we started as a personal brand, right?
Yeah.
And that's worked very well with us. Now we have a coaching program. But now you're talking about deviating from that. What would be your advice for us, given our niche?
How many senior care homes do you guys have? I'm assuming you're buying single family homes and turning them into senior care living homes, correct? Or assisted living. How many do you guys have?
3 currently.
Owned by you guys or investors?
Us. We don't have any investors.
And then it cash flows enough for you guys to just do that?
We just purchased another home thanks to the mortgage guys.
Okay, but if I were you, I wouldn't do coaching or anything. I would just scale from 3 to 4, 4 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 100. You don't need to do anything else. See, people try to do all these cool, sexy things like coaching and all this kind of stuff. That's not where the money is. Tell me one company that makes a massive amount of money from coaching. Tony Robbins is probably the biggest one. Even then, how big is he really? Who else? There's no one bigger than Tony Robbins that I know in coaching, even that. I'm not trying to throw shade on Tony Robbins. He's an amazing guy. I don't know. Well, I think Dan's a closing keynote for Tony or something like that. I saw on your Instagram. Congrats, buddy. But when you look at coaching, how much money are you going to make on it? What, you want to teach people how to create more senior living and have more competition?
That's what we do now, yeah.
Why? So more
There's no
There's not
competition.
enough homes.
There's not
There's
enough
not enough.
So you want more competition?
It's not competition. We're full at our homes. So we're only allowed to have 6 residents in a residential setting. There's no...
Are each of your homes profitable?
Yes.
So why aren't you just buying tons of homes?
Oh, we're doing that too.
But they cash flow on a mortgage basis, right? So if you buy a home, how much do you buy a home for?
Maybe the last one we purchased, 780,
Okay, and then how much? What's a mortgage payment on 780?
5,000.
5,000. How much does it cash flow at?
Net profit?
Net profit.
10,000 minimum per home. After mortgage is covered, after all expenses.
After all team salary, etc. You should just be buying as many homes as possible.
We're doing that too.
But the rest is a distraction. Just double down and focus on buying more homes. Everything else is a distraction. You want to coach people? Coach people in exchange for part of the equity in the home and teach them how to do it. Let them put the down. Your type of business, your biggest problem is probably getting a down payment for more homes, correct? Because you have to put a down payment each time. Correct? You should just go get a backer and go raise money and have someone back you $1 million, $2 million, and then it does well, and then they'll give you $20 million, and then $100 million, and then the line is pretty much unlimited. You're thinking about things the wrong way. Just go get an investor. That's what I would do in your business.
We've always been very hesitant to get investors involved in your business.
Yeah, but if you got investors, you would make more money. It's not about owning 100% of the pie. It's about owning a smaller percentage of the pie and just becoming much more wealthier.
So have you always had investors in your business and that's how you run your business?
No, I had investors early on, but at this point I self-fund everything.
Okay, but starting out you did have investors.
No, I did not starting out, but in between I did.
Okay.
Yeah. So investors could be great. There's nothing wrong with them.
So we're right now in your in-between where we should look for investors.
Yeah. Investors will help you scale really fast. Your biggest problem is, or just get collateralized debt, okay? So you buy a home for 780. Can you buy a lot of homes for 780?
We're in California.
Yeah,
There's not that many for 780?
not in our area, no.
Okay, so you,
Sounds like a mill.
about a mill, it doesn't cash flow well.
Not as much.
So your problem isn't actually the money, it's finding the homes.
Yeah.
So if you had another home for 780, you can buy it tomorrow or no?
Yes, we could actually.
Okay, so you don't need investors, you just need to find more homes. Yeah.
Investors would be nice too. Now that you put it that way.
Well, if, yeah.
Yeah. Ask Albert to do a text intro, although I think one of you has my cell phone number. I can introduce a guy named Rich from CIBC. Maybe they can cross-collateralize you guys and put you on the commercial side. They may be able to help you out, so that way you can just scale faster because your things cash flow well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because you may have equity already built into all these homes, I'm assuming by now, because you must have been doing this for a long time. He can cross-collateralize. There's quite a few people that can help you with that, and then you can just scale faster. And then instead of, you're on your fourth one, so instead of 4 homes, you can quickly go to like 5 or 6. And then there'll be a point where you'll slow down because you can't find enough homes. But everything else is a distraction. People don't get wealthy by doing 20 different things. You know, Bill Gates was a co-founder of Microsoft. He owned around 50% of the company. You know, he would be the world's first trillionaire. Did you know his CEO, Steve Ballmer, is worth more than him and owned less of the company? He owned less than 10%. What made Steve Ballmer wealthy is he didn't sell his Microsoft shares. Bill Gates met Warren Buffett and sold a lot of his shares and then bought Four Seasons and all this other crap. He should have just kept with Microsoft stock and done none of the other bullshit. Yeah. So that lost him a lot of money, combined with his affair. Or Jeffrey Epstein, one or the other. All right, next question. Go for it.
Neil, you said earlier that in your apps and social networks, we should use tools, right?
Yeah.
So, can you give us examples or names of some of those tools? For example, I see on internet many IAs, right, of everything. Can you give us like names of which tools or IAs you think that works the best?
Check out Hey Gen. I'm going to start you off with that one tool. The reason being is you can train it and then it can create content for you at scale by recording you and your voice and just automatically create you tons of content. Hey Gen, HEYGEN. Just type in Google Hey Gen AI. It's a great tool. Go for it. Number 5.
Yes, I have a question. I own a roofing company.
Yeah.
I'm also starting to invest in real estate, and I'm also doing fix and flip. So I'm doing a company right now,
Where are you based out of?
New Jersey.
Okay. And so you also want to do fix and flips?
So I've been doing this, it's like a programming, coming in my habits. But what's your suggestion? I'm 25 years old. I've been doing good, but I want to do great. So do you think should I just focus on my biggest businesses, the roofing company?
Your roofing company is a massive industry. Roofs are expensive. How big is your roofing company?
This year we'll be doing around 6 million already.
So if I were you, I wouldn't work on fix and flips. I would work on expanding your roofing company, because even though it's 6 million in revenue, that's actually not that big for a roofing company. You agree, right? There's a lot of roofing companies doing 20 million, 30 million, 40 million. Exactly. You should focus on making your roofing company bigger instead of fix and flips. See, people want to get distracted and do too many things when you have something that's amazing in front of you. Just double down on that and do better with it. Yes. Like, do better marketing for your roofing company. Dude, at our ad agency, NP Digital, we have a lot of roofing companies, plumbing companies, HVAC companies. They make a killing. Just scale it up and grow faster. You're welcome.
Going back to marketing, a lot of mid-sized companies hire agencies for marketing. And
Yeah.
there's some that want to hire a full-time marketing director. And I'm in the process of that.
What's the size of your company?
We have 6 employees. We're going to jump to 10.
What's your revenue?
We make about 1.5.
You should not hire a full-time marketing person. It's too expensive for your revenue size. Because the problem is that one marketing person won't be able to do everything. If they could and they're really good at everything, it would work well. The reason people hire agencies when they're smaller size is because you can hire a shop that has different specialists. So instead of paying for someone full-time, you're paying for a lot of different people who are part-time.
So stick with an agency.
Correct. You're welcome. And eventually you can hire someone in-house. You could do a full-time too if you want. You're just not going to get the value at your size. If you had 100 million in revenue, I'll tell you something else. How often do I look at my analytics? Oh, you should be looking at your analytics daily, and you should be trying to make changes based on that on a daily basis. Worst case, 3 times a week. Any other questions?
So you mentioned earlier, like, you don't want to get too caught up in the day-to-day tasks, like you mentioned when you called the Alvin brothers, you called someone on their team. But you also mentioned, like, you're still in a way involved in the different aspects of the business. How do you balance the two without being too involved in the business, where you can still work on the business?
You want to be... So the only way to do it is, A, you got to hire amazing people who are players and coaches, people who can manage but also are willing to get their hands dirty. And you want to be involved because you may have a different perspective than them, and you can help them do things in a better way that maybe they don't know about, and vice versa. But you won't learn these things unless you're involved. And when I say you're involved, it's okay to be involved in the details at the beginning. As things start automating and doing well and don't need your time and energy as much, you can slowly pull back and spend your efforts on something else. Mm-hmm.
How often do you check on your businesses? Since you have multiple businesses, how do you delegate your time?
Every day, including Saturday and Sunday. I
Why
work.
are you so relaxed? Like, I'm paranoid. Like, I'm here, but I'm paranoid. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my office, I need to be
That means you hired the wrong people underneath you who are managing. I got a call from one of my CEOs today, all right? No joke, a few hours ago. He usually doesn't call me on a weekend. I call him on a weekend almost every weekend, and usually 2-3 times on the weekends, okay?
So you're paranoid too?
No, I just check in and shoot the shit because I'm bored and I don't want to watch kids all day. So then it gives me something else. I love my kids, don't get me wrong, I play with them and stuff, but I'm not that type of guy that wants to play with kids for 8 hours straight. So I need other stuff to keep me busy. This is also one of the reasons I expanded internationally, because my Sunday is a lot of other people's Monday. So then I can start calling and doing my rounds overseas and then talking with some of my other staff members. And it allows me to work any time zone too, because when everyone's sleeping in the US, because I wake up around 4 a.m., I can call people overseas and chit chat and see how business is going. But my CEO calls me and we're making some changes in our organization. And he's like, Neil, there's a call with HR, finance, and one of my co-founders today about making some changes. He's just like, I'm assuming this is, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know why we can't just make the change on Monday. He's like, you got to deal with legal. He's like, I'm here to protect the company. You got to make sure people don't do funny stuff with bank accounts and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, and he starts going down a laundry list. I was like, cool. Yeah, sounds good, dude. My bad. I'm sorry. I meddled. I shouldn't. It's all you. I don't want to deal with all this stuff. And then I just let it to it. And then he texts me all the stuff working on related to this issue. And I just gave him a thumbs up. And I didn't read it all because it was too long. And I was like, all right, dude. And then he even sent an email. As a recap, I emailed you, Neil. I texted you, Neil, WhatsApped all this kind of stuff. And I'm working on X, Y, and Z. I'm like, I didn't even respond to the email. I was like, yeah, dude, I know you're on it. But that's the key. I hire really good people who are so stressed and paranoid, like you, that I can stress less. And I don't hire from like Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Princeton. Don't get me wrong, I have people who went to those schools who worked for me, but the majority of the managers I hired from those schools have not worked out for me. On the flip side, they've worked out really well for people like Peter Thiel or Elon Musk, and they're richer than I am, so they definitely know something that I don't. But for my industry, I don't look for that. And I'll give you a great example of this. When I want a property in Los Angeles, California, I call Matt Altman. I don't even know if the dude went to college. I really don't know if he went to college. But you know what the guy's really good at? Negotiating and getting me what I want when I want. If I say, hey dude, I just saw this property listed. I want to see it right now. Or I want to see it. He's like, when? And I'll be like, well, it's 11:50. It's 5 minutes away. Can I see it at 12? So in 10 minutes? He'd be like, all right, let me call you back. And he just goes and figures it out. I don't really give a shit if he has an Ivy League degree. The guy just gets shit done. And he hustles. If I call him on Sunday, I want to go see a house, and he's not even there, I don't even give a shit. I'm like, just tell him to let me in. He'll go and make it happen. The Harvard guy will tell me, well, Neil, people need 24-hour notice because someone's living there and yada, yada, yada. You know, like, just give me the guy who's going to just make shit happen. And I hire a lot of people, or I work with people who just make shit happen. It's worked out well for me. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, I remember the credit lady. Yeah, I met you at Albert's office.
Yes. So now you're saying to like go into a company setting. I don't know what name to put, and I don't know if I should.
It's okay. You can be the credit lady.
Yeah.
That's fine. Just have a team. No, you can build your personal brand, but your company could be the credit lady or whatever you want to call it. Like Albert's the mortgage guy. But it's not Albert, it's Albert and Sil. And together they've built a business. It's both of them combined, not one. I know everyone sees Albert, but the business wouldn't run without Sil as well, right? There's a team. The team doesn't always have to be forward-facing. You could say Sil is forward-facing somewhat. She's on social media and stuff. Not as much as Albert. But she really is needed in the organization for it to run. I've been around Albert. He can be all over the place. She is much more structured. Does it mean Albert's bad? No. They have their strengths and weaknesses, and together they make a good pair, right? What you need to figure out is who is the people on your team that you can hire that alleviate your stress and do that job better than you, so you didn't even call them and worry because you know they're going to do it better than you. And there are people out there who can do that. You just got to find them.
So then just keep la línea de crédito for both personal brand.
Yes, but build a team that can help you scale. Because the last time we were at Albert's office, you told me you don't respond to everyone in your social profiles on Instagram. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah. I was born with a decent brain. I don't have genetics of a buff dude, but my parents gave me a good brain. So, and remember what I told you? You need to figure out how to get the time or hire someone to help you.
I did, just so you know, from that time to now, I hired 13 more people.
Okay, and what happened to your revenue?
It went up tremendously.
Yeah. And why'd you hire the 13 people? It couldn't all be for responding.
No. There was different phases. I did more setters, and then I was able to get people to do more processing.
And then some people to respond to the comments.
Exactly.
Yeah, then you made more money. Look, you just did the shit. Now what you need is a good manager who can handle a lot of the bullshit so you don't have to, and you don't have to stress as much. Look, I do stress, but one of my strengths is I'm really good at staying level-headed, not having too many emotions and showing it, and dealing with high pressure. I was just born with that gift. I've always been good under pressure. I thrive. Like when shit goes bad, I start getting creative. I remember one time I was getting sued. Instead of sleeping that night, I started busting out legal articles and started reading about the law and trying to figure out ideas on how to actually solve the case. And in the morning, I started calling the lawyers and giving them all these ideas. And I pay like lawyers that cost more than $1,000 an hour, so I'm not paying shitty lawyers. They turned down all of my ideas and they said, good idea, but this is why it couldn't work. But like, that's how my brain works. I will work on trying to also solve my own problems. Yeah, you're welcome.
Where do you find these good employees?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn?
For me, I don't know where you would find them in like the real estate space or credit space, but I find a lot on LinkedIn. And what I do is I look for people who work for my competitors who got promoted multiple times, because it usually means they were good, and I go poach them, and I pay them more. It's not rocket science. You can do it. Just like she hired someone to help her respond on social media. Her business exploded. Yeah. Cool. Well, I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you guys for coming.